I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Writing the church into the pages of history.
The average person in America, whether they're Catholic or not, doesn't realize the incredible influence that Catholics have had in the history of this country, and also the incredible suffering that they went through.
What the new evangelization means in one European country as a bishop from Germany pays us a visit.
In Germany, we have the market in media spreads out. We have difficulties to bring our information, to bring our content of the gospel to the people.
And a local parish gets ready for World Youth Day.
The goal of today is to encourage the youth who are going to World Youth Day to start looking at it as a pilgrimage.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Just yesterday, the country celebrated President's Day. Now, you might have thought it was a day to celebrate all of America's presidents, or, maybe at least just the popular ones, but you would be wrong. What is commonly called President's Day is actually a celebration of George Washington's birthday. Washington, of course, the first president of the United States. No one would argue about this founding father's influence and his key role in shaping the country as we know it today. Well, just last week, a group of young adults gathered at a Theology on Tap event to explore a new chapter and look at the Catholic pages of American history. Dr. Patrick McNamara led the discussion about the making of Catholic America and the influence and perhaps unknown role of Catholics in shaping our nation.
Catholics are a lot like the rest of Americans in one sense, that we don't pay enough attention to our own history. Things move along so fast in our country that we don't get the chance to keep up with a lot of this stuff. I mean, there are people today who don't even remember who Britney Spears was. That's how fast we go.
Theology on Tap is a way for people to get together and talk about issues of pertinence to Catholics. Sometimes it's theology, sometimes it may be a social issue, sometimes it may be a moral issue. Tonight we're going to talk about the history of Catholics in the United States.
Before 1840, Catholicism is kind of a minuscule portion of the American population. John Adams said about Catholics in colonial America that they were as scarce as earthquakes. There weren't a lot.
I think the main thing was how people kept the faith alive, in the absence of a priest, in the absence of having an actual church and having Mass regularly. I thought that was very moving and very interesting.
Every state had laws against Catholics. People threw rocks at priests, spit on them. It was nasty.
I was surprised about how the Catholics were a little bit aggressive in instituting themselves as in part of the social scheme. They didn't really back down to anyone, and they basically said, we're here and we're going to stay, and that's it.
Oh, here's a picture of Father John Bapst. He says, well, basically, if one Catholic church in this city gets burned, we're going to burn 10 Protestant churches. He says, we can take care of ourselves, you better know that now.
The average person in America, whether they're Catholic or not, doesn't realize the incredible influence that Catholics have had in the history of this country, and also the incredible suffering that they went through, regardless of their ethnicity, their background, when they came to the country. The church has really gone through a lot over the years here in America, and despite that fact, they've helped a great deal to build the country.
A lot of people are upset over the fact that we have a lot fewer priests, that schools and parishes are either closing down or relocating. The hospitals, in some cases, are going out of existence. But if you look at the history of the church in America, you'd see that we've dealt with all this stuff before.
It was interesting to hear that there was the same kind of story in the past century of Catholicism being sort of on the decline and in the minority, and then building up, which is kind of where we are again. There are sort of waves in time, and that what appears to be the end of something isn't necessarily the end. It may be a new beginning. It's kind of exciting.
My hope tonight was to show you some stories from the American Catholic past, maybe to give you some encouragement to say, things may look tough now, but we've been through tough times before. We've gotten through them, and we've flourished. Thanks, guys.
Well, you really do learn something every day. Very interesting discussion there. Well, there is more Currents coming your way. A mission to spread the gospel takes a deadly turn. That story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, young Catholics in Queens prepare for a pilgrimage to Spain. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. At least 65 people have died, and New Zealand's second largest city lies in ruins following a devastating earthquake. A cathedral that dates back to the mid-1800s is among the buildings that have been reduced to rubble. We get more details on this disaster from CNN's Andy Rose.
This is a live earthquake.
Just before 1 p.m. local time Tuesday afternoon, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake rocked Christchurch, New Zealand. The main event was followed by powerful aftershocks. Buildings crumbled and roads buckled.
Absolutely frightening. It was by far and away the roughest ride we've ever had.
Survivors can barely believe it's happened again. The region is still recovering from last September's 7.1 magnitude quake, but unlike last time, Tuesday's earthquake hit in the middle of the day, when the streets were crowded and office buildings full. And this time, there are dozens of fatalities. The city's iconic cathedral is in ruins.
To see the dust and have people running out underneath that dust is there's just no words, to be quite honest. It was absolutely awful.
People are frantically digging through rubble to free anyone who might be trapped. Cranes are being used to rescue people stranded in tall buildings. In many neighborhoods, phone lines are down, power is out, and some water mains have snapped.
Obviously, it's an extremely worrying situation for the people of Canterbury and will have significantly unnerved them. And obviously, at this point, our sympathies and thoughts go to the people of Christchurch.
That report from CNN's Andy Rose. Well, closer to home, a Catholic couple from California is among 4 people killed by Somali pirates off the coast of Oman. Scott and Jean Adam, along with 2 of their friends, were shot today after being held hostage aboard their yacht since the end of last week. Sailors on board a U.S. Navy ship that was following the yacht tried to help after hearing gunshots, but attempts to save the victims were unsuccessful. Monsignor Lloyd Torgensen is pastor of St. Monica's Church in Santa Monica, California, where the Adams were parishioners. He says they were on a mission of faith distributing Bibles.
Both of them had a great outreach, of course, through this ministry to take the scriptures, the Bibles, to places across the world. And so they felt that call to do that, and that's what they were doing, I presume, when this happened.
Well, 2 pirates were discovered dead aboard Adams' yacht. Another was killed by U.S. forces. In all, 15 pirates were taken into custody. Well, turning now to the growing turmoil in Africa, where a Libyan bishop says Catholics in his country are not taking part in uprisings there. Bishop Giovanni Innocenzo Martinelli says many Catholics have instead headed to churches to pray for peace. Protesters, meanwhile, have taken to the streets demanding Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi step down. Gaddafi, who's been in power since 1969, has refused. He said he'll die a martyr. He's blaming the uprisings on mercenaries and foreign influences. Well, meanwhile, from Tunisia, an archbishop says the murder of a priest there may be a sign of growing Islamic extremism. The body of a Polish missionary priest was discovered in the parking lot of a Catholic school on Friday. The Vatican-based Fides news agency reports the priest was beheaded. The Archbishop of Tunis says it's a sign of a growing Islamic movement in Tunisia that's targeting non-Muslims. Well, from Egypt, more protest. This time, it's Coptic Christians who are demanding the establishment of a secular state. They are reportedly concerned about the institution of Islamic rule following the departure of President Hosni Mubarak more than a week ago. On Sunday, Coptic Christians gathered in front of Egypt's state television building demanding an amendment to the country's constitution to establish a secular state. Well, back in this country, a co-founder of an abortion rights group, the abortion rights group NARAL, who went on to become a leading pro-life advocate, has died. Dr. Bernard Nathanson died at his home in New York after a long battle with cancer. Nathanson estimated that he was responsible for more than 75,000 abortions before experiencing a change of heart in the 1970s. He also underwent a religious conversion later in life. At one time, a self-described Jewish atheist, he converted to Catholicism in 1996. Bernard Nathanson was 84 years old. From Ohio, a controversial abortion bill is gaining increasing support. The bill, known as the Human Heartbeat Protection Act, would ban abortions once a fetus's heartbeat is detected. Opponents say the law would severely limit a woman's right to an abortion. The bill's author says a fetus's heartbeat can be detected anywhere from 18 days to 6 weeks. And promising news for the Catholic Church worldwide, as the latest data shows the number of Catholics and the number of priests has risen. We get more details from Rome Reports.
The total number of Catholics worldwide is up 1.3% from last year, bringing the total number to 1.181 billion. These figures were published in the 2011 Pontifical Yearbook. Secretary of State Tarcísio Bertone and Substitute for General Affairs Archbishop Fernando Filoni, two of the Pope's principal collaborators, approached the Holy Father with the figures. The Pope found that nearly half of the world's Catholic population, 49.4%, is in the Americas, compared to 25% in Europe, 10.7% in Asia, 15.2% in Africa, and 0.8% in Oceania. The total number of priests has also increased. In the past 10 years, it has risen from 405,178 to 410,593. There are also now more bishops in the world. The number has grown from 5,002 to 5,065 over the past year. The average age of a bishop is 68, and each bishop has an average of 81 priests in their charge. The number of the men studying for the priesthood has been steadily increasing in recent years. The number increased from 117,024 in 2008 to 117,978 in 2009. Africa and Asia have seen the most dramatic increases, with a 2.39% and 2.2% growth respectively. Women religious are still the largest group collaborating with the bishops, although their numbers have been on the decline. Their total number dropped from 739,068 in 2008 to 729,371 in 2009. During the presentation of the yearbook, the Pope joked with one of the publishers because it happened to be his birthday.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up. Just ahead, from Germany to Brooklyn, it's another look at the new evangelization.
But it's very important that the people know about the practice of the church, and therefore we should establish own channels, own medias, own internet.
Welcome back. Well, if you are a regular viewer of the show, you know that each week we go into the deep to talk with Bishop DiMarzio about the church and how it's impacted by what's happening around the world. Putting out into the deep is a well-known biblical adage that is not only closely connected with Bishop DiMarzio, but it's in fact the founding principle of our own station, the NET, New Evangelization Television, NET. And New Evangelization is more than just a station name. It's actually a call by the late Pope John Paul II to evangelize using modern communication. Well, today I had a chance to talk about the New Evangelization and media with another bishop, but this one from much further afield. He's Bishop Gebhard Fürst of Rottenburg-Stuttgart in Germany. Bishop Fürst is in charge of media for the German Bishops' Conference, and he visited the station to learn more about our own work and to enlighten us about media in Germany. Well, Bishop, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your visit here to NET, into our studios. I understand this is your second time visiting us.
Indeed, yes.
Tell me a little bit about the visit here and the purpose for it.
We know in Germany that the various medias in the United States are running very fast, and then we can learn a lot of your praxis here. And I am very interested in knowing how do you manage the various medias, internet, and the various methods of broadcasting and so on, so that we can, in our land in Germany, can establish a new matter of media to have a church which is present in the media market.
Right. Now, comparing this visit to the last visit here, what are some differences that you see?
I think in about 4 or 5 years, things have changed. I'm very interested in how the experiences you have about interactive media in the internet, what the experiences of you with Facebook and YouTube and so on. We in Germany, in our church, we are a little bit shy about establishing internet interactive affairs, because it's not so easy to manage it.
Sure. Yeah, it's when you're inviting that interaction with the public, and you're not just managing the message that goes out, you also kind of have to manage what comes in as well. Well, of course, reaching out through media have really become priorities of the church, and we here at NET, of course, NET stands for New Evangelization Television, hearkening to Pope John Paul's message of the new evangelization and all of that. Has the church in Europe, you mentioned in Germany in particular, the kind of the shyness about reaching out through new media. Is the church in Europe as a whole embraced reaching out through media, you think, or do you still have a way to go?
We have not a program about a crossover in whole Europe. Every land in Europe is managing his own television and internet and so on. We have not central managing. But in Germany we have internet by the diocese. We have internet also in the Catholic Church of whole Germany, and we will establish a cross-media house where the various medias do support each other. And I think you have made a big progress here, and we will learn about it, how to manage this.
Sure. Yeah, of course there are challenges to doing it. And what are some of the major challenges, do you think, to using not only the media in general, but new media in particular, the internet and all of that? We mentioned it's tougher to manage, the outgo and what's coming in new media. What are some other challenges, do you think, that people face in using internet and new media?
In Germany, we have the market in media spreads out, and we have difficulties to bring our information, to bring our content of the gospel to the people. Our newspapers and so on, they do not broadcast or do not bring too much. They bring very less of our information of the church to the people. But it's very important that the people know about the practice of the church, and therefore we should establish own channels, own media's, own internet homepages and so on, that we reach directly from the church the Catholics in our land. And this is not too easy, because in Germany we have about 25 dioceses, and each diocese wants to make their own method with media and so on. And our main challenge is to bring this together so that we have more power to reach the various Catholics in our land.
Right. Okay, well, very good. Well, Bishop, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time.
Okay.
Very interesting to have him here, and of course we'll have much more actually from Bishop Gebhard First coming up on tomorrow night's show. We'll talk about some different topics then, so stay tuned for that. But stay tuned right now because there's much more of this edition of Currents coming up. Well, finally tonight, August may seem like a long way off, especially with those chilly temperatures outside. But Catholics across the world are already gearing up for the big World Youth Day celebration in Madrid, Spain. The preparations have been going on for quite a while, as a matter of fact. You know, a few months ago, Pope Benedict became the first person to sport the hat chosen by teens all across the globe as the official hat for World Youth Day. When they arrive in Madrid, pilgrims will receive the hat and a shirt in an official World Youth Day backpack. Well, organizers say they expect World Youth Day 2011 to be the largest yet, and teens here in the Diocese of Brooklyn are getting ready to be in that number when they make the trip this summer. Over the weekend, the Office of Faith Formation sponsored a pre-pilgrimage day of prayer at St. Gerard Majella Church in Queens. We sent our cameras to check it out.
Father Gannon had the great idea of getting everybody together before World Youth Day really kicks off. In the past, everyone kind of just met at JFK Airport or LaGuardia Airport. And Father Gannon had the great idea of getting everybody together beforehand so they kind of meet each other before we go on the pilgrimage in August to Spain.
The goal of today is to encourage the youth who are going to World Youth Day to start looking at it as a pilgrimage, as a journey that takes preparation, spiritual preparation. They've already been preparing economically, but they need to prepare spiritually, they need to prepare physically as well, and to open their hearts on this journey, to see it as a journey, not just a vacation or a trip, to see it as an experience to pray with the whole church surrounded by the Holy Father.
While you're away in Madrid, you're going to see what's really not a common sight anymore, and it's actually a beautiful sight. You're going to see a lot of young men and women religious.
World Youth Day is a worldwide convention of young people from every country in the world, and it began in the late 1970s when our late Holy Father, John Paul II, called the first meeting of the youth in Rome. Since then, it has taken place every 2 or 3 years on different continents and in different countries from around the world. The goals of World Youth Day would be for the youth to go and see that they are not the only young person that celebrates their faith. It really enlivens them and lifts them up. And the hope is that they come back charged, that they really become the leaders of the church today and in the future.
Something is going to happen to all of you, but something intense. And what may happen is that the Lord may be asking some of you here to come back from Madrid and perhaps maybe to think about more seriously the Lord's call to priesthood and religious life.
Going on these trips is definitely an experience that strengthens your bond with God and with the church, and it just gives you a better feeling of your religion and yourself.
I guess it'd be really good to have, interactions with other people from around the world. I know that's definitely going to be part of it. Meeting tons of new people, being able to see the Pope.
A pilgrimage is a journey of faith, right? Many of us know what it's like to go on vacation. We pack some things, we go, we sightsee, we enjoy. Pilgrimage, we do the same things. We do enjoy, we do pack, we do plan. But it's a journey of faith. Every single day leads them to the foundation of why we're there. And why we're there is not primarily to see our Holy Father. He happens to be the person who leads the pilgrimage and calls us together. It's because we're rooted and built up in Christ Jesus.
Did the Pope call the convention? Yes, he did. Did our parishes get us involved? Yes, they did. Did our parents let us go and sign the permission forms? Yes, they did. Did people very generously help us afford to be able to go? Yes, they did. But the only reason we go is for our love for Christ.
I think it definitely works as far as planting a seed in every single person that goes, no matter what the motivation. If someone's going because their parent wants them to go, if someone's going because their youth group wants to go, every single person that goes to World Youth Day is transformed somewhere in some way from the inside out.
Should be a lot of fun. Of course, we'll follow them along the journey to World Youth Day, of course, leading up to it and all the preparation that'll take place between now and then. And there's sure a lot of that to come. Well, that is it for tonight. Remember, we're always online over at currentsny.net. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.